What's up, guys? Knives and Guns here, coming at you with a new video today at the old farmstead. I'm here with Taylor.
Hi.
Say
Hi.
hello. We're testing out a new knife today for us. It's not a new knife for them. It's a knife by Battle Horse Knives known as the Smoky Mountain Razor. They're based in Cambridge, Ohio, and they do some really nice work on some outdoors knives. Their knives are pretty much no-nonsense, get-it-done type of knives, which I really like. This knife here features a nice thick piece of 01 tool steel. It's saber ground to a nice fine edge. I was told by people there that they like to grind their edges between 20 and 22 degrees. So they come pretty sharp but have enough have enough angle to really stay strong when you're biting through this tough woods. They're from the eastern woodlands just like I am. I'm in middle of Ohio, eastern middle Ohio. This right here is a piece of oak. Very, very hard piece of wood. This is standing dead wood. That's what I like to grab. I don't like to cut down live trees unless it's for foresting reasons where a piece of timber needs cut out so the rest of the timber can live on and be stronger. Real woodsmen cut down trees if necessary. But this is a piece of standing dead wood. Very, very good. Very, very dry. It's probably been standing for close to 2 years in its area. So it's very, very good stuff. It's very, very tough stuff. It's hard to get through. Anyone that's ever worked with oak before knows it's very, very strong. Very, very hard wood. Even cutting it with the silky saws, which I am a huge fan of. These saws get it done. These are the best folding saws, in my opinion, on the market today. They were pretty hard to get there for a long time, but people are starting to realize how great they are. And they're starting to kind of flood the market here in the U.S. There's stronger saws out there. The Baco Laplander may have a stronger blade, harder to break, but with the proper technique, these do a better job, in my opinion, on getting through wood fast, especially hardwoods like these. But that's what we're going to be doing today. I'm going to be bucking this down into smaller pieces, get some decent pieces. You can do it with an axe. That's a lot of calorie expenditure for me. I don't prefer an axe when I'm cross-cutting. I prefer an axe for splitting. I hate batoning with knives. I'm going to do it today because they said test this knife and put it through its paces. A knife should be able to baton. I don't like doing it. I don't recommend you do it. That's, to me, batoning a knife is abuse. But be that as it may, your mileage may vary. So I'm going to buck this down. I'm going to get into smaller pieces. I'm going to see what this knife can do. Batoning, carving. I'm going to even make a little fire with it, because it's got to have a good 90-degree spine. It just has to. A good knife should. Okay? So we're going to cut the video here, start back up once I got a couple of these pieces bucked down, and we'll continue. Again, this is some really tough stuff. Hard to get through even with this saw. This saw can walk through pine, various conifers, poplar, but man, when it comes to this oak, it takes a little bit of effort. It still goes through, and it still does a good job. And one thing I like about silky saws is they provide a nice clean cut. It's not jagged, it's nice and smooth. And no other saw on the market that I've seen can do it as quick nor as efficiently as this saw. I'm not the best woodsman, nor am I the strongest man in the world. But even I can buck quite a bit of wood with this before getting tired. I'm not going as fast as I can, and I can still walk right through this wood. As you can see, that's a beautiful clean cut. Smooth to the touch, almost like it's been sanded with 120. Very, very nice.
Yeah, even for me, it's not that hard to saw through, and my arm strength is minimal at best, so you kind of just let the saw do all the work for you. Instead of pushing the saw forward to make the cut, you kind of push it through lightly and then pull back to make the cut. So it's really easy even for me to use, and like I said, arm strength is not great for me.
Apologize for the trucks in the background. They like to haul coal through here at about twice the legal limit, so you'll have to excuse that. But these silky saws just rip through wood. As you can see, even someone with marginal strength. Taylor's a tough girl, but
Arm strength is not for me.
even with even marginal strength, man, these silkies really rip through the wood. I know this is a battle horse video, but I can't stress enough how good these silky saws are. And she likes using them. You just got to be careful with them. Don't tweak the blade. Don't bend it. Just make it work for you.
Well, and this wood is really, really hard. I mean, it usually wouldn't take nearly this long.
I mean, as you can see, that cut is superb. Very, very smooth. Now, that's not a huge piece of wood. Hold your hand up there, Taylor. It's not a huge piece of wood. It's about 3.5 inches across, but man, is it hard. We have here a little piece of wood. Like I said, I don't like batoning. I think it's abuse of the knife, but I'm going to do it today just to prove that these knives can do it. I have no doubt that it can, but you guys might not know or don't care to know, but they will do it. Again, use an axe for an axe and use a knife for a knife. This isn't an axe, but it'll do it regardless. Get your blade as close to the ricasso as possible. As I anticipated. That's not even a challenge.
Like butter.
That's not even a challenge. So, they will baton through wood. That wood's not super strong. That's a different piece of wood. But like I said, it will get it done. It'll do that. The blade is not super long, so I don't have enough real estate. But again, for light processing tasks, which is all you should use a knife for, I mean, it'll go right through. Just a couple strikes. No problem. I mean, if you want your knife to do more than that,
you should get a bigger knife.
You should grab an axe.
Yeah.
So, I'm going to take this. We're going to process this down. See how it feather sticks. See how it whittles. Do a couple things with it. See if we can get a little fire going. Okay guys, what is important of a knife of this size to be able to do is carve. That's going to be your most used task for this knife is kindling preparation. As far as getting your sticks broke down into a small enough state where it becomes unsafe to do with an axe. That's where these knives take over. And getting some feathers and whatnot. I am horrible at feather sticking. I'm not good at it at all. I try my best, but it is what it is. Like I said, I'm not the best at it. I can kind of do it. I get it broken down into pieces that I know will work. Sometimes I'll even come in and I'll cut them off. And then I'll just use this as my base. Because like I said, these eastern woodlands, all these hardwood trees, they don't carve like they don't feather stick like the softer woods. But this saber grind does pretty good for making small shavings, which is what I'm trying to do right now. And it does a pretty good job. Now, a Scandi grind is going to let you bite a little bit deeper into that wood and get the job done a little bit easier than a saber grind. But the saber grinds work well too. I mean, you can definitely get it done. And for as far as processing game goes, a full flat grind or a saber grind like what's on this is going to be better than your Scandi grinds, 9 times out of 10. And getting a company that knows how to put a proper Scandi grind on a knife is, getting harder and harder. But just breaking this down into little pieces, it does a pretty good job. I prefer my bushcrafter over this knife for whittling and that sort of thing, but it will do it in a pinch. Taylor's actually wearing my bushcrafter right now. I'm going to have her get it off her hip so we can see a size comparison between them two knives. Right here we have the bushcrafter laid next to the Smoky Mountain Razor. As you can tell, they're pretty comparable in size. The Smoky Mountain Razor is going to have a little bit of a fatter blade. If that's something that really you enjoy, then you might want to go for the Smoky Mountain Razor. The first thing I will tell you is I really like the handle of the Smoky Mountain Razor. It's contoured perfectly. It's got a nice swell in the palm of the blade. So when you get your hand on it, you really get a nice purchase. I have big hands, And even this knife for me is not, you know, not too small. I like that shape. I've seen some axes with a shape on them like that. And man, I tell you, it really gives you a nice purchase. Whereas on the Bushcrafter, it's your standard broomstick type handle. You know, there's not much to it. It's still really comfortable in the hand. It's actually a more traditional design. But I see these starting to grow in popularity. Very, very, very nice. I like it a lot. The blades are right around 4 inches. I don't know the exact measurement. Like I said, if you want exact measurements, go to the website. They'll tell you everything you need to know. 01 tool steel for me has performed really well. It tends to, you know, it doesn't chip. It rolls if you get into some really gnarly stuff, but it can be straightened out pretty easy with a, you know, a crock stick or a, you know, a ceramic rod. It's not an issue. Scandies, of course, you guys know how to sharpen those, but you know, these, I can put this on my work sharp and I can have it back to screaming, even sharper than I got it, very, very quickly. So in comparison, these two knives are comparable, and it's another option in case you don't want the traditional style Bushcrafter. The Smoky Mountain Razor, definitely a good option, and it makes a worthy adversary to the Bushcrafter. Just working this a little bit more in my hands, I started doing some pull cuts. Man, this handle in pull cut fashion is extremely comfortable. I mean, you can just lay off the wood instantly. I mean, you can get really deep into there, and you have a lot of power in that pull as well. Very, very nice. I mean, it's almost no work at all in that pull cut, and this knife is absolutely perfect for it. I see a lot of people that say, you know, pull cuts are unsafe or whatnot. I disagree. I don't think they're any less safe than any other move. Just that saber grind, you got to be sure that your angle's a little bit steeper to get a good bite in it. I'll grab my Bushcrafter, and in comparison, the Scandi grind in a pull cut fashion, and you can see the difference there. Scandi just bites into wood like it's nobody's business. So if that might be important to you, you might want to go for the Scandi ground option. I do believe they make this in a Scandi grind. And if they do, that'd be excellent, because I would probably pick it up in the Scandi grind if I had my choice. But man, that pull cut and that handle, in my opinion, is better than the Bushcrafter. I like it. Another important aspect to a knife is if it'll throw sparks. It's a last-ditch effort on fire making if you run out of everything else. Being that this is 01 tool steel, it should throw sparks. I got here a piece of Ohio flint, chert, you know, whatever you want to call it. It's good rock. It'll throw decent sparks on my striker over here. Let's see if we can get a couple ring off this thing. So. I don't know if we're getting any on camera. It's kind of bright out here, but there are sparks being shaved off of this knife. So it will throw sparks. That's a good thing. That nice 90-degree spine is also going to be a benefit when I go to process this fat wood here in a second to get a small base tinder fire started. It's extremely important, and why I don't carry a stainless steel knife, to be able to throw sparks off its spine. Very good. Good job, Battle Horse. Being able to break down and process fat wood is just as important to me as being able to strike off of a piece of flint. This is a decent piece of fat wood right here I have, and that 90-degree spine should make short work of grinding off shavings of this to get a fire going. It shouldn't take too much effort at all to process a pile about the size of a nickel. That's going to give you a long burning piece of fire to start with. You guys, most of you will know what fat wood is and what its capabilities are. It'll burn damp. It's heavy enough that the shavings don't blow away in a gust of wind. It's just very, very good material. I keep 2 of them in my kit at all times. I can make a few fires out of each stick. So it's very good to have. Weighs almost nothing. And we'll see what this knife can do for it. We'll get a nice piece that has a lot of resin in it. The more orange it is, the more resin that's in there. That's the stuff you want. So we're going to take this 90-degree spine. I'm going to hold my knife in some of a kind of a modified saber grip to the side. We're just going to see if we can get some of this scraped off. I'm just moving the piece of fat wood back and forth, trying to get, as many shavings off as I can. And it's doing a pretty good job. Once you get some shavings built up, all you have to do is hit that with a ferro rod, and this stuff will take off like gasoline. It takes no time at all to really break this stuff down and get it into a little pile so you can get it lit with a ferro rod. And that 90-degree spine also allows you to get really nice sparks off of a ferro rod. And this here is my own ferro rod. The best ferro rods I've found come from firesteel.com. I absolutely love this rod. It's softer than your typical hard, your typical hard ferro rod, but it's not as soft as some of them really cheap ones. It's got, it's definitely a mish metal rod. So it's got some softness and some staying power with it. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to place this down, and I'm just going to give this a couple good scrapes, and I should be able to light this up without too much effort. As you can see, barely any strikes at all. And I got a long burning fire that'll last a good long time until I can get something put on there. That's going to burn for, plenty of time to get a nice little bit of fire going. I always carry a little bit of jute twine with me also. And this stuff goes up too. Really, really good for bird nest material. But as you can tell, this nice spine, man, it'll shower the sparks all day long. And a 90-degree spine is very important for that. Now, I will tell you, I don't use my knife to grind off my ferro rod. Why? Because I like to preserve this for an emergency. These strikers weigh almost nothing, and they can be attached with a simple piece of paracord, and they throw really, really nice sparks as well. I mean, I'll start a fire if I do that a few more times. They just roll down the table. You're only going to find that out of a high quality rod. The Light My Fire rods are okay, but these dominate, and these little things can be had for super cheap. Throw a little deer antler on it, you're good to go. So in conclusion, this knife is pretty awesome. I really like it for what it is. It's not a huge knife. It packs well. It doesn't weigh a lot, even though you got a nice thick piece of 01 steel. You got a really, really nicely done saber grind. It's not hollow ground, it's actually saber grind. That's really important. The grinds are pretty nice. I mean, there's a little inconsistencies here and there, but you're gonna have that with a hand sharpened knife. And that's what's awesome about these. These are handmade in the USA. And I don't think the price that they're asking is too far off. I really don't. They come with a handsome sheath that can be wet formed to your specifications. I have my Bushcrafter wet formed very, very nicely, and they just hold up well. The sheaths are nice. They do have a dangler option if you guys like your danglers. They also have a fire steel loop. I recommend, just for the extra $6 or $8, $9, whatever they're charging for them, just go ahead and get the fire steel loop and get the dangler. I mean, the dangler can be taken off if you want to. The fire steel loop doesn't get in the way. I highly recommend it. The handles, the fisheye bolts, are epoxied on and bolted through. You got a nice lanyard hole. Again, that extremely sculpted handle is very, very comfortable. The handle on this is more comfortable than my Bushcrafter. I like it a lot. And the pull grip, it's extremely comfortable. Your thumb nests in there really nice and tight. 01 steel has performed well for me. Strop it up. This knife will be as good as it was when it came. It came what I would call reasonably sharp. And I say that because I like my knives very, very, very screaming polished edge sharp. This knife came shaving hair, shaving paper sharp, and that's awesome. Because some guys are just not the best sharpeners in the world, me included. But man, it came good and sharp. It's a high quality knife, and I think you guys will really enjoy it if you happen to pick one up. It's definitely a competitive option to the bushcrafter. I'm going to turn it over now. Taylor's going to do her concluding thoughts to it as well. We do like to get a woman's perspective because women don't get a whole lot of love in the bushcrafting community. There's a few of them there that do awesome stuff, and they don't get much love in the bushcrafting community. So I'm going to turn it over to her and see what she thinks about this great knife.
Hi guys, I just wanted to talk about a few things that I really liked about this knife. He pretty much covered most of the points that I also wanted to talk about. We pretty much agreed on everything he spoke about here. It's a great knife. I just wanted to touch on some things that I specifically liked about it. One thing being the handle. I love this handle style. I like that it fits to the hand really nicely. For the bushcrafter, I wasn't really a fan of the handle for me. I thought it was too big. It's too kind of square for me. But I love this. It's like really fitted right for a hand. It just goes right in there. It feels like it doesn't want to leave your hand. It just sticks right in. One thing about this knife is I do prefer Scandi more than saber grind on this, but I'm sure they have many options for that. That's just a personal preference, but because I think it does cut into the wood better with a Scandi. But of course, this has a different use. This could always be used for skinning or meat processing. One thing that goes great with that is these handles. It really digs in when you grab it, and when it gets wet, it doesn't get slick. As you can see, I have a little cut there, and it really didn't make it slippery or anything when I was holding onto the knife. So I think that would be a really great use for this knife. Instead of just straight up processing wood, it could be really good for processing meat and you know, skinning and things, of course. So which is the saber grind as well. It can be sharpened on like a work sharp and different things like that. I mean, Scandi grinds are much more difficult you know, to sharpen. So I think if you're not a very good sharpener, if you don't want to have to buy a bunch of specialized tools, this would be a really great grind for you to have, because you could easily touch it up at home. Not a problem either. So yeah, that's pretty much the things I wanted to talk about. Overall, great knife, and yeah, wonderful addition to your collection.
Do you have recommendations for changes they can make the knife to make it better?
Not particularly. I know the sheath. I love to wet form sheath. I know you did that to your last knife you got, and I love it.
Absolutely. And wet forming, it's super easy, guys, and anyone can do it. And it just adds a personalized touch to the knife and the sheath combination that really helps keep the knife retained on your belt. So
it gives it like the Kydex feel, but it's not the hardness of the Kydex. It's really nice. So yeah, I mean, you could do that, but that's kind of cosmetic and everything. I mean, overall, I really like the knife. I love the handle, and yeah, I think it's great. One thing I would like to mention too that I forgot to say is you talked about being able to strike on here and create sparks. I personally don't feel like I like to do that with my knives, but just like he said, that's something that it should be able to do in an emergency situation. Yeah, I think steel strikers
what we're trying to say is it's a good feature and it's necessary, but it's not, you know, I wouldn't do it all the time because you will round off that spine.
Yeah.
And in an emergency situation, you want that spine to be as angled, you know, at that 90 degree as possible. So, I mean, keep that nice and use your strikers, which weigh nothing. You can carry them with you. But yeah, just use a striker, and you don't have to waste your 90 degree spine on, you know, everyday chores.
Yeah, and I think that attributes a lot to this knife, is that not every knife has to do everything as good as it can. I mean, every knife could be used for a different thing. So, I mean, I think it's great that this knife can process wood. It can be used to strike steel. I mean, to make sparks. It can be used to do, you know, meat processing and all of the above. But I'm sure it has its niche. So it's niche there. So you don't have to have every knife be able to use for every tool.
Also, with knives of this quality, why not just carry two?
Yeah, I mean, carry as many knives as you can. I know I do. So.
All right, guys, we're going to wrap it up here. The video is going to be a little longer than usual, but we wanted to get a really good in-depth review of this knife. Alicia and the guys at Battle Horse Knives, Ashley, are all really great people, and allowing us to do these reviews, you know, it keeps us going and it keeps our channel going. So we really appreciate their effort in letting us us test these knives. So really appreciate it, guys. Thank you, and have a good day.